Hello everyone, sorry for jumping in before the episode, but I just want to tell you all about the Thinking in English Patreon. Patreon is a way for you guys to support Thinking in English and receive some amazing benefits. We have conversation clubs at least 6 times a week, allowing you to practice your English speaking. We offer weekly discussion sessions with English tutors, including me, where you can ask any questions you have. We have a Discord server and chat rooms, so you can talk and meet other English learners and practice English. I release bonus episodes every Friday, and depending on your subscription level, there are also free English group classes and one-on-one conversations with me available. There are also some new and exciting new benefits coming in the next few weeks, so join now. I'm currently offering 7-day free trials if you join right now. Click the link in the description or go to www.patreon.com/thinkinginenglish to join now. Hello, I'm Tom Wilkinson and welcome to the Thinking in English podcast, a podcast for intermediate to advanced level English learners. The United Nations is one of the most important international organizations in the world. But how much do you really know about the UN? Let's discuss the background, history, purposes, controversies, and future of the United Nations in today's episode. You can find the full transcript over on the Thinking in English blog. The link is in the description. Check out my Instagram and YouTube pages, both called Thinking in English. Join my Patreon to support the podcast and also join my conversation clubs. Leave a 5-star rating wherever you are listening. And here is today's vocabulary list. Principle. Principle. A basic idea or rule that explains or controls how something happens or works. For example, the country is run on socialist principles. Cooperation. Cooperation. The act of working together for a shared purpose. As in, without the cooperation of local residents, this movie could not have been made. Forum. Forum. A situation or meeting in which people can talk about a problem or matter, especially of public interest. As in, the organization is a forum for debate. Groundbreaking. Groundbreaking. If something is groundbreaking, it is very new and a big change from other things of its type. For instance, his movie is interesting, but not groundbreaking. Peacekeeping. Peacekeeping. The activity of preventing war and violence, especially using armed forces not involved in a disagreement to prevent fighting. For example, a peacekeeping mission has been sent to the country. Instrumental. Instrumental. If someone or something is instrumental in a process, plan, or system, that person or thing is one of the most important influences in causing it to happen. For example, she was instrumental in bringing about the Prison Reform Act. Bureaucratic. Bureaucratic. Involving complicated rules and processes that make something slow and difficult. As in, I had a lot of bureaucratic hassle trying to get the information I needed. Isolationism. Isolationism. The political principle or practice of showing interest only in your own country and not being involved in international activities. For instance, under the leadership of Donald Trump, the US moved towards isolationism. The origins of global politics and the United Nations can be traced back to the aftermath of World War I, when the League of Nations was established as an international organization to promote peace and cooperation among nations. The League was founded on the principle of collective security, with member states pledging to work together to prevent future conflicts and to disarm their militaries. The League's founding documents also included provisions for the protection of human rights and the promotion of international cooperation on issues such as health, labour and education. Despite these goals, the League of Nations ultimately failed. It failed to prevent the outbreak of World War II. In the face of rising tensions between major powers such as Germany, Italy and Japan, the League was unable to enforce its principles of collective security and disarmament. Many historians have attributed the failure of the League to a combination of factors, including the lack of support from major powers like the US and the Soviet Union, as well as the weakness of the League's institutional structures and decision-making processes. In the aftermath of World War II, world leaders recognized the need for more effective international organizations to prevent future conflicts and promote global cooperation. The war had resulted in the deaths of millions of people, the displacement of millions more, and the destruction of entire cities and communities. In the face of such a profound global trauma, many leaders recognized the need for a new approach to international relations, one that prioritized cooperation, diplomacy, and the pursuit of shared goals. The United Nations, or the UN, was established on October 24, 1945, with the signing of the UN Charter by representatives of 50 countries. The Charter was the result of several years of negotiations led by a core group of nations, including the United States, the Soviet Union, Great Britain, France, and China, or the Republic of China, not the People's Republic of China. The establishment of the UN marked a significant shift in global politics, as it sought to promote a more cooperative and peaceful international order. Rather than simply being a forum for states to engage in diplomacy, the UN was intended to be a platform for collective action and the pursuit of shared goals. Over the years, the UN has evolved and developed in response to changing global circumstances and the emergence of new challenges. One of the most important milestones in the evolution of the UN was the creation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. The Declaration was a groundbreaking document that recognized the inherent dignity and worth of every single human being, and established a set of fundamental human rights that were to be protected by all member states. Another key development in the history of the UN was the creation of peacekeeping forces in the early 1950s. The UN's first peacekeeping mission was established in 1956 in response to the Suez Crisis, and since then, UN peacekeeping forces have been deployed in dozens of conflicts around the world. While peacekeeping missions have been criticized for their effectiveness and their limitations, they do remain a critical tool in the UN's efforts to promote peace and security. Today, the UN is composed of 193 member states, and its main body includes the General Assembly, the Security Council, the Economic and Social Council, the International Court of Justice, and the Secretariat. The General Assembly is the main deliberative body of the UN, where all member states have an equal voice. The Security Council is responsible for maintaining international peace and security, and has the power to authorize military action, impose sanctions, and establish peacekeeping missions. The Security Council, however, is not equal. 5 countries, the US, the UK, China, France, and Russia, have permanent seats and veto powers. The Economic and Social Council is responsible for promoting economic and social development around the world, while the International Court of Justice is the UN's court, the main judicial body. And the Secretariat is the administrative arm of the UN, responsible for implementing the decisions of the other bodies and coordinating the day-to-day operations of the organization. The United Nations has many important roles and functions, but perhaps the most critical is its mandate to maintain international peace and security. The UN's efforts in this area include the deployment of peacekeeping missions, the mediation of conflicts, the imposition of sanctions, and other measures to prevent and resolve conflicts. Another key role of the UN is the promotion and protection of human rights. The UN's work in this area includes monitoring and reporting on human rights abuses, supporting the establishment of national human rights institutions, and providing technical assistance and capacity building to member states. In addition to its focus on peace and security and human rights, the UN also plays an important role in fostering sustainable development. The UN's work in this area includes promoting economic growth, improving access to education and healthcare, and addressing environmental challenges such as climate change. The importance of the UN's work in addressing global challenges cannot be overstated. Climate change, poverty, and conflict are just a few of the complex issues facing the world right now, and the UN's efforts to address these challenges are essential to creating a more peaceful, just, and sustainable future. For example, the UN's work on climate change has been instrumental in raising awareness of the urgent need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate the impact of climate change. The Paris Agreement, adopted by the UN in 2015, provides a framework for global cooperation on climate action and has been ratified by nearly all UN member states. Similarly, the UN's work on poverty has been instrumental in improving access to education, healthcare, and other basic services for millions of people around the world. Through initiatives such as the Millennium Development Goals and the Sustainable Development Goals, the UN has helped to reduce poverty and inequality and promote sustainable development. However, the UN has faced a number of criticisms and controversies over the years. One of the most common criticisms of the UN is that it is ineffective and bureaucratic, with some arguing that the organization is too slow to respond to crises and lacks the necessary resources and authority to effectively address global challenges. Another common criticism of the UN is that it lacks accountability, with some arguing that the organization is not transparent or responsive to the concerns of its member states and the international community. This has led to calls for greater transparency, greater accountability, and reform. In addition to these criticisms, the UN has also faced a number of controversies over the years. One of the most high-profile controversies was the oil for food scandal, which involved allegations of corruption and mismanagement within the UN's oil for food program in Iraq in the 1990s and early 2000s. Another controversy that has plagued the UN in recent years is the issue of abuse by peacekeepers. There have been numerous allegations of sexual abuse and exploitation by UN peacekeepers in countries like the Central African Republic and Haiti. These allegations have raised serious concerns about the UN's ability to effectively monitor and regulate the conduct of its peacekeeping forces. As the world continues to change and evolve, the UN and global politics in general face a number of significant challenges and opportunities. One of the biggest challenges facing the UN is the rise of nationalism and populism, which has led to a growing sense of isolationism and a reluctance to engage in international cooperation and multilateralism. this has the potential to undermine the UN's ability to address global challenges and maintain international peace and security. Another challenge facing the UN is the changing balance of power in the international system, with emerging powers such as China and India challenging the dominance of traditional powers like the United States and Europe. This has the potential to reshape the global order and the role of the UN within it. At the same time, the UN and global politics also face a number of opportunities, including increasing the importance of non-state actors, such as organizations, businesses, and individuals. This has the potential to open up new avenues for innovation, cooperation, and problem solving. Looking to the future, there are a number of potential scenarios. One possibility is the emergence of a multipolar world, meaning multiple powerful countries, with a number of major powers competing for influence and resources. Another possibility is the emergence of new forms of government and cooperation, such as regional organizations and networks that complement or supplement and work together with the UN. The impact of technology is another important factor to consider. The rise of artificial intelligence, blockchains, and the Internet of Things has the potential to transform the way that global governance and cooperation operate, creating new opportunities and challenges for the UN. Ultimately, the future of the United Nations will depend on continued international cooperation and a shared commitment to addressing global challenges, such as climate change, poverty, and conflict. The UN can play an important role in shaping a more peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable future for all by promoting cooperation, human rights, and sustainable development, and working with its member states and partners to address these challenges and opportunities. So here is today's final thought. The United Nations plays a crucial role in addressing global challenges and maintaining international peace and security. From its establishment after the Second World War, the UN has evolved and developed, creating a framework for international cooperation and multilateralism. Despite its successes, the UN also faces criticisms and controversies. And as the world continues to change, the future of the UN and global politics remains uncertain. However, by continuing to promote international cooperation and a shared commitment to addressing global challenges, the UN can help shape a more peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable future. But what do you think? What do you think about the United Nations and its role in the modern world? What changes do you think could make the United Nations better? Let me know by leaving a comment. Leave a comment on Spotify, leave a comment on the Thinking in English transcript over on the blog, or send me a message on Instagram. My Instagram is Thinking in English Podcast, and so is my YouTube channel as well. So you can check out YouTube as well. Leave a 5-star rating wherever you are listening, on Spotify or on Apple. You can leave me a review on Apple as well. If you want to support the podcast, you can do. I have a Patreon where you can get bonus episodes and conversation clubs and help support the podcast, of course. And I think that's everything. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you all next time.